Hi everybody, I can't believe we're in week 11. I know I say that now every week, but this semester is just flying by. Michelle did a really good job with coming up with some questions for these readings and relating it to our project that we're working on right now. So I think that's a really good way to kind of discuss this information. So the first question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages associated with the data collection methods that we used? So for our project, we used a couple different data collection methods, or we're going to use a couple. We are using a survey as an assessment, a pre-assessment, and we're going to use that exact same survey as a post-assessment after they use our instrument that we're evaluating, which is an online article with some text and some videos. So the advantage of that is that it's just really quick, easy to use, it's online, and all of our target audience people actually have to have access to the internet and the computer for this, so that wouldn't be a disadvantage, it would be an advantage. The other thing we're going to be using to collect data is utilizing a Carmen page and having them make some changes on the Carmen page to apply what they would have learned in our online lesson. So the advantages of both of those is that it's quick, it's easy to collect the data since it's all online, it's free. I'd say a disadvantage would be that for our pre-assessment and the post-assessment, some of the questions that we ask are they're open-ended, so we have to interpret that data, and I think that's where data collection can be tricky, is that if it's not just like a right or wrong answer, you have to, interpret the data. And with a group of 5 people, we need to make sure that we're like on the same page and, looking for the same thing. And I think comparing from person to person what they fill in and kind of making like a baseline of this is what we're looking for to determine if the if the online learning tool was effective. So it's like we're looking for this to mean it's effective. So it's kind of creating our own baseline, I suppose. So I think that could be a disadvantage for our group, is just making it valid, I suppose. During our pilot study, did our team discover any technical problems with the data collection? And if so, what was our plan to change those problems or to correct those problems? We had a couple little technical issues, but not in terms of just like one really. We used the Carmen page for our pilot test learner, and we had given her access to the page. However, when we sent her the link, it wasn't published at the time, so she wasn't able to go in. So that was kind of the only technical problem that we experienced. However, we did incur some other problems with that Carmen page of just not making it clear of what to do. So it's not quite a technical problem, but it was an issue that we ran into. So going forward, we're going to double check that access is given, the page is published. Same thing with like the survey link. We made sure that was published, so we didn't have any problems with that. And then going forward, we have corrected our Carmen page with clearer instructions, and it's been set up a little bit differently so that we won't have any problems with that. So I think in general, the problems that we faced for technical problems was more for that we were kind of quickly getting things done and just kind of what we weren't checking before things were sent out. So that was just kind of an oversight on our end and not the user not being able to utilize the systems. And what challenges, if any, do we anticipate with analyzing and interpreting our data, and how could we overcome? So I think I briefly just discussed that with being a disadvantage of our data collection method, is that we have to, we're not looking at like a lot of quantitative data. We're relying on our learners doing a self-assessment of their knowledge, taking this lesson, which is an online learning tool about accessibility in Carmen, and then taking those skills, and we are having them, we're testing their application of the skills. However, we're also testing, we're doing a post-assessment and kind of looking at the pre and post and seeing if the learner themselves kind of really compares that they've learned anything, or if there's a change in their abilities from before taking the lesson to after taking the lesson. So I think it's just going to be, at least for me personally, I think analyzing the data is going to be hard just because I haven't done it before, not even just for, like it's a challenge in itself, just for me. I think how are we going to overcome these challenges? We kind of briefly discussed that we all need to make sure we know what we're looking for. We're going to look for common themes in the answers that people write for open-ended things. So we do ask about, how do you define accessibility in like a context of a learning environment? So we're going to be talking about what answers we'd like to see and what themes we'd like to see based on some principles and requirements that are set forth by the university and the Office of Distance Education and e-learning. So that's kind of what we've talked about, is how we're going to overcome those challenges. So I'm still kind of fuzzy on like how we'll do that. I think for me at least, seeing how people answer those questions is going to kind of determine the pathway that we take for interpreting the data. At least that's where I'm at personally right now. So I'm excited to see what we come up with for our tryout plan. It was a little bit difficult for our pilot test because we were kind of rushing for time, and the person that we used for our pilot test actually did not finish the tryout plan. So that was kind of a huge thing for us. So we were only able to get results from the pre-assessment. We weren't able to do the Carmen page or the post-assessment. So we were not able to actually collect a lot of data. And then for this, we did not analyze the pre-assessment. We just looked at it, but we didn't dive into it. So I look forward to hearing other people's responses from this, especially if there's other group members on this board. So I'll be curious to see your answers, and happy Sunday.